again, everyone traumatized, everyone healed. That's part of awakening and aligning to why your soul came here on earth to create and learn and heal those wounds and traumas for learning and growing.
I'm Junaid Ahmed, host of Hacks and Hobbies podcast and a digital presence advisor at Humble Zone. This episode is brought to you by Home Studio Mastery. I launched a consultation and course program to help podcasters and course creators to create a space in their homes that'll reduce the friction of creating content and appearing their best when showing up on camera. The pandemic gave us a lot of issues, but this one is here to stay. We're now so much closer to our audience thanks to video becoming more popular and affordable. I help guide folks who want to create Hollywood-worthy studios to not only capture great content, but also build more confidence, more authority, and be more comfortable in front of the camera. If I can do it, you can too. And with my help, you can do it faster. So if you'd like to learn more, visit homestudiomastery.com and how you too can create a home studio that brings out your personality, professionalism, and possibilities. Thank you for tuning in to Hacks and Hobbies with your host, Junaid. We're visited by our amazing guests coming from all walks of life who want to learn their story, their struggles, and their journey on how they got to where they are today. So stick around. Today we get to speak with Phillip Mountrose. He's a pioneer innovator in the realms of spiritual growth and healing. He's been coaching holistic life for over 25 years. And in this exclusive episode, did I go through one of Phillip's exercises, as I was feeling a bit exhausted after the birth of my fourth child just a week before. Phillip, along with his wife Jane, are holistic coaches, energy healers, and energy healing pioneers. They're also authors of numerous books, including their new book, The Loving Power of Your Soul, a guidebook for realizing your true potential. The mission of Awakenings Institute, their nonprofit organization, is to facilitate the unique gifts that each individual brings, receive, honor, and respect, where all are nurtured in allowing their gifts to blossom. Their extensive website can be found over at gettingthrough.org. Let's jump in this episode as we learn a bit more about Phillip Mountrose. Phillip, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast.
Great to be here with you, Junaid.
Awesome. So tell us a little version of your journey that no one's heard of before.
Well, I started off as a person, I remember as a young child, I liked to do little performances from my neighborhood, little comedy scenes and scenarios that I would write with some of my neighbors. I thought it was kind of getting a message out in the world or communicating something or being inventive. And that was an interesting little seed for going further. And I ultimately ended up in UCLA Film School in Los Angeles, thinking maybe I'll be a writer and director. Following this, my life. And then afterwards, when I looked at the possibilities, people have crossroads in their lives, like sort of major decisions. You're more or less aware of that. If you do this, you're going to go down one road. If you go here, it's going to take you down. So if I further went into Hollywood and looked at that, it didn't really make a lot of sense to me. I mean, I loved film and the creativity part, but then on the practical thing, how many people get to write and make their own movies and do what they really want? Well, maybe some do early on, but then I was thinking, I'm trading off maybe doing years of things I don't like to possibly do something I do like. So that really got me more into a spiritual awakening journey. And I explored a lot of psychology, and this was decades ago, before the internet. Not as much was easily available. Buddhism and Japanese tea ceremonies, a lot of things from the East. And I actually ended up in a Gurdjieff Ouspensky spiritual awakening school. Wow. Some people may know those philosophers. And one of the lessons learned, speaking of your theme of your show on the hacks, is trying to get the truth from someone else, although initially pretty normal and common tendency among human beings. Eventually, hopefully you wake up to that's ultimately not how you're going to find it from an external source, i.e. in this case, the charismatic leader of this particular group. Why did he have all the wisdom and the channeling and the direct insight, and I couldn't? And that's where I met my wife and partner, Jane Mountrose, as well.
Yeah.
And that set us on a journey to healing, healing like the shadows and blocks inside, which is an interesting thing, Junaid. We all are wounded and traumatized, which is kind of an interesting hidden fact out there.
Yeah.
When they do the studies, it's not just most people who've been abused physically, emotionally, sexually, or had their parents hospitalized or divorced or in prison. It's just parents that didn't know how to parent because they were parented by people.
Right.
You had to be the mini parent. They had bad boundaries. They didn't really know how to educate you or be with you. So that's part of the journey of awakening. So that sent me into learning hypnotherapy and developing my own healing energy modalities with my wife and partner, and many books we've written along the way.
Nice.
So maybe that's a semi-medium answer to where I'm kind of coming from, my story, a little bit of my story.
I love that because something recently that I've discovered about a year and a half ago was
Yes.
the human design and how the energies in our, which type of energy runs through our minds and bodies and who we are as opposed to be who we end up being and not being in alignment with ourselves. And so it's something that I really appreciate. The more people, the more folks have gone into and understood it and then brought it to the surface to help others be, living in their, living in their alignment with who they are.
In their truth, being authentic, speaking their truth, which is something we're not at. If you turn on CNN, I've never heard anyone say they're speaking their truth. There is beginning to say speaking truth to power. That's kind of coming up. That's one version of it.
Yeah.
But your deeper soulful truth of who you are, the deeper level, which aligns with your soul plan. Again, everyone traumatized, everyone healed. That's part of awakening and aligning to why your soul came here on earth to create and learn and heal those wounds and traumas for learning and growing.
So you started at a very early age discovering these things, and you just wanted to be able to help others. Like how do you keep motivated? And I know you've been doing it for a while, or how long has it been that you've been doing it?
Well, we started our Awakenings Institute, a nonprofit organization, 501c, and with the mission of helping the world to honor people's gifts, including nature, and honoring nature and honoring everyone, to make a more loving world. And that was in the 1990s, late 1990s when we formed that. And years before that, we were studying and learning and beginning to do our individual practice and group trainings. And we have a very extensive website because over the years, we've actually written and done about 30 books and courses.
Wow.
A lot of things have just come out of this one step at a time, so it keeps growing. And when you align with your purpose, which is really just following your heart, which means things that you love to do, that you're good at, and you want to develop. Why do you want to do that? Because not only it makes you feel good, it's to help other people, which makes you feel good. And that's all part of the design, the deeper design of why we're here. And that's what we do in our different courses and free offerings and trainings and individual help of people, my wife and myself at Awakenings Institute. And we have a new book on that, The Loving Power of Your Soul, as well.
I love that. I'm trying to see where to take the conversation because I'm a little lost. Not a little lost, but I'm a little exhausted. I think is the right word. We just had a newborn. So help me guide the
Yeah.
conversation. Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, let's do this. Let's do an experiential because that's interesting, I think, for everyone listening and watching and you. So part of what we do is remember the healing part. When we
Yeah.
found out the awakening, it was connecting with the soul. The soul is the deeper part coming from your heart. That's really eternal. That's beyond the veil of the illusion of just everything being physical and mechanical and random.
Yeah.
And so as we awaken to that, one the ways to do that, and in our new book, The Loving Power of Your Soul, one of the ways which we can do experientially on what you were just talking about is not only awakening and getting guidance and direction from your inner truth and awareness, but healing from it as well. And if you're up to it, I could do a little maybe assistance, shall we say, with you on what you just said. You're currently being at some exhaustion and a bit scattered, if I understood you right. If
Yeah.
you'd like a little help with that and have an experience, and it would kind of share with the audience how this works, a simple process of soul connecting and healing and awakening.
Love it. I love
Okay.
it. Yeah.
So we call this the mud to mountaintop process or apex process, kind of seeing the big picture. So we start with the issue, the challenge. In this case, in your case, you were saying you were feeling a little exhausted.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mainly because we just had a newborn a couple of weeks ago, and not getting enough sleep.
Oh yeah, that's a big one.
Having 4 kids in total,
Right.
their activities and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So there is the just physiological thing about if you have lack of sleep, that's just a physiological fact, But I'd like to I think you'll still get some deeper insights, even though this is not a substitute for getting more sleep.
Right.
But maybe some of the response to things, because a lot of things sound like you're dealing with a lot of new things and challenging things at once. So, Junaid, if you were to imagine your current state, you were saying exhausted and feeling, what were you saying, kind of feeling scattered or overwhelmed? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, scattered, overwhelmed, because not only do I have the 4 kids, newborns in play, there's also things that I want to do with my business, like launching the home studio mastery courses, convention, whatnot. We've got the podcast going. We've got a full-time job. We've got so many things happening.
You have a lot on your plate, a lot going on. Okay,
yeah,
good. So
exactly.
this would be a good
process.
Right. Yeah, this will be a good process for getting you in a more internal, balanced, clear state from this moment. Okay, so if you were to imagine, Junaid, your stress, your current situation, you're thinking about all these things going on. If you imagine like sort of being in the mud with that, if you had sort of a visual or a sense of that, what would that be like for you, your current state of overwhelm and scatter? If you were to kind of picture or sense that, how would you describe it?
I'd feel like I'm being sucked into the mud.
Just kind of sucked in, yeah. Right. And what's that like, being sucked into the mud?
Feeling out of control. It's almost like it's almost like quicksand. You're grabbing for branches, grabbing for things just to get out of the mud, but not able to.
Okay, so let's leave that for a moment and imagine ascending, getting lighter and lighter and rising and rising. And you can rise to the perfect mountaintop or perch, a very high, lofty place where the air is just right, the temperature, incredible surrounding, panoramic, wonderful view and sensing and knowing. So if you imagine rising to this high point, this apex point, perhaps a mountaintop point, can you get a sense of that? Just imagine yourself getting lighter and lighter and lifting up till you get to the top of this perfect place for you and for the listeners too.
Yeah, I mean, I can try and imagine to be in that space where I'm perched up and I can see everything from a bird's eye view, so to say.
Yeah. So just be in that space for a moment. Just let yourself be there, in that wonderful place with the bird's eye view and the temperature and the feelings. And tell me a little more about being in this place, your mountaintop, the place that you're connecting with now.
So I feel a little more in control because I can kind of fly or kind of be on this you know, stable mountain, be able to see from up top high how the gears are going to work, as all the things that are bothering me, how they should be working. Kind of see that in my mind's eye, or how they should be put together, kind of thing.
Okay, just kind of allowing that to go deeper for you and people listening. So you get a sense of the big picture, how things fit together, how they connect. It's more stable, you said. It's almost like you can fly. You have a lot of ease there, it sounds like, to maneuver and to see and to sense and to connect.
Yes.
Good. So now with that wonderful energy, and you can just, if you were to imagine it, if that were a symbol or a color, if you just kind of put that into a kind of a capsule or a reference, what would it be for you, just to make it easy to connect with this wonderful state you've
What color this is going to be?
Could be any color or shape or image or symbol or sound, anything just that comes to mind.
Could be a hexagonal cube.
Okay. Is there a color to it?
It's silver.
Okay, so your silver cube, imagine sending that silver cube back into the old self, the old Junaid self who was struggling in the mud, the quicksand mud a moment ago, right? So if that receives that wonderful hexagonal, that cube, that silver cube, very light, in control, seeing the big picture, what's that like for you now?
Feels like all the answers are written on the cube.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Any answer coming out at you at the moment, or any answer you want to focus on or get a sense of, or that's coming to you?
One says take time for yourself.
Yes. Yes. That's a beautiful message. And can you get a sense of how, and that's a good message, I think, for us all. Can you get how would that be for you to take time for yourself? What would that mean for you?
It would mean that I can actually work on the things that I want to.
What would those things be? Do you know what those things would be?
Oh, there's a ton of things, right? So I'm writing a book on a chapter. I'm recording a video on this. I'm recording course. All of these things that are backed up, almost kind of.
Yeah. Can you work on them with kind of the silver cube helping you? You know, so it's more light, in control and stable.
Yeah, depending more on others, or giving.
Right.
Letting more people into my space to help me move forward.
Yeah.
And that's the cube.
That sounds like a very allowing, dynamic space that's not so imbalanced. Yeah, that sounds, and I like the way you said that. The way you said it, the way you say it is also reflective of your inner state. So now you're speaking in a state that's more calm and peaceful and stable.
Yeah.
Like when you were on the mountaintop and more flying in control, big picture, seeing how things connect.
Yeah.
So if you keep that with you, and that's what I learned and what I teach and we write about in our trainings in a holistic coaching and healing approach, and in the new book, Loving Power of Your Soul. And that's one of the 6 ways we describe in the book. So if you are more connected with the big picture, you're more aware, you're more conscious, you're more, in your case, using that silver cube, I love that image, to help guide you. Life can be pretty amazing and a much more meaningful and even productive, because you're actually, the more you rest, the more you'll accomplish. And they've done studies of people who are the most productive, famous people, and they just actually work small amounts of time very intensely and take many times of breaks and walks in natures and vacations and naps and all kinds of things. The people who are actually producing the most in society. Most people are like famous kind of people, who are very productive.
Take a lot of,
More, you've heard the phrase, get more done. More is less. Less is more. Less is more, and that's what they taught me in film school. Someone said less is more about film. you can actually create more with less, actually less, sometimes less talking
Yeah,
creates more impact, say, in film.
absolutely. And a book that I recently finished reading was Essentialism, and he talks same thing. Less is more. You know, the less things there are in your room, the more time and the more energy you can spend on yourself. Because every time I look around, there's a ton of things. Oh, I got to take that out. I got to do this. I got to clean this up. I got to build this. I got to build this DeLorean back here. And my kid's been
Right.
asking me, like, when are we
And
going to
those
build
are
it?
all wonderful, worthwhile things.
Yeah.
Another way of saying this in the soulfulness that we write about and study and devoted our life to, and everyone has a soul and it's directing them, even though
Yeah.
it's much of it's unconscious. Another word, a good word that comes to mind is spaciousness. Being more spacious with your life. Most people are in the quote rat race, hustle and bustle, hurry and worry, stressful life, always kind of behind, those type of things.
Yeah.
And there is a lot, and at times, we are sort of working a little overtime. And we have projects. I mean, if we have like a new course coming out, which we do, there's some extra time as it gets close that we have to put in all the finishing touches.
Yeah.
But that's not always, continuous.
That's not always the case, right? It's not continuous. Yeah. I like that. So my silver cube is my goal to get my
Guidance.
not the goal, the guidance. It's the guidance. It's what's gonna help me get to the top of the mountain to find more control.
It's a reference. It's
a
an
reference
awareness. We have it as a soul centering. Actually, just going to the top of the mountain is really perhaps where you want to spend your time. And that image could be just an energy that would either help reference you or easily access it,
Yeah.
which could change too.
That makes sense. I like that a lot. Wow. That so I can just think about the reference point and be like, hey, I want to be here. How do I get there? Well, here's the answers. Just
Yeah.
write it out, spend more time.
Right. So instead of mentally trying to figure everything out with like a really great mental apparatus that you have, your highly developed intellect, which is great. Instead of using that foremost, use that in conjunction with your right brain, your intuitive nature, and your heart, which connects with your soul. And then you're working fully and you're optimizing your destiny and what you came here to do on earth for. Yeah. And you, me, and everyone else. I'm not just
Right,
speaking
exactly.
individually
Not just
to you.
yeah. Wow. All right, so that was an excellent experience. I definitely feel a lot lighter because I know that I can go to this point and have that reference point, and I kind of know, okay, I just need to unravel or whatever the word.
Pause and reset,
Pause and
reboot.
reset.
Those are some good kind of computer type terms.
Pause
Pause,
and reset.
press the pause button, reset by going to the mountaintop, accessing, in your case, the silver cube. It might be someone else. It might be a word or a tone or a
Right.
color or something
Could just
else.
be
It could be
anything,
different. Everyone will find their own, and it can change depending on where you are in the moment. And we have many processes and techniques that we teach in our books and trainings about how to do this pretty easily, like you just did.
Nice. What's some of the things that kept you motivated in coming back and helping, in coming back and teaching what you teach with the energy healing and being the holistic coaches that you are?
Right. I think one of the biggest things we did is the idea of the life purpose. One of our earlier books, which is called Getting Through to Your Soul, and the subtitle was The 4 Keys to Living Your Divine Purpose. We wrote that, published it in 2000, which is pretty long ago now.
Yeah.
So the term life purpose then was extremely obscure, except it is in traditional religions. They talk about your dharma and things. But in popular culture, it was like, what is that? Now life purpose is pretty common, which is a good thing, is really good progress. So what we do and teach, and personally, is as you get a sense of your purpose, which is the things you're good at, like you're good at many technical things and your projects and helping people on different levels. When you get a sense of that and put it in the big picture of how you're helping the world with it, that's motivating. And that kind of, you have a general idea of where it's going, although you have to allow that you don't know exactly where it's going. You don't know everything. There's a lot of randomness and things that happen, and the world keeps changing. But you know the general, like, wow, I'm really good at coaching and healing and writing and communicating, in my way. And you have some of yours in podcasting and your technical work and programs. And that's motivating of, this is what I'm here to do, and this I enjoy, excites me. What's the next step for me today?
Yeah, I love that. So being able to help others seeing their results and how they're able to live a more balanced life,
right? Balanced,
and their purpose,
fulfilled life.
Love that.
Yeah. So the idea is, by the end of your life, there's a last day that we may or more or less not want to consider, but if we were, because it's going to happen, it's kind of better to be prepared. So what happens? You look back and you say, I did. I was guided by my silver cube, or whatever. I was in touch with my heart. I was taking advantage of the opportunities. I wasn't perfect. I made mistakes. I learned from them, but I didn't sit on the sidelines or get overwhelmed, or quickly got back up when I fell or got detoured. So, I'm happy. I'm satisfied. I did my best.
Philip, a lot of really deep talk, and I know we can go much deeper, but for the sake of whoever's listening, and if they're driving, and we want to make sure they're safe.
I forgot to say in that little meditation, that apex, going to the mountaintop from the loving power of your soul. If you were listening, hopefully you didn't close your eyes while you're driving. I'm sure people didn't.
Exactly. Share with the guests, share with my audience 3 hacks to take away, that's either listed in your book or something that they can do in their life immediately after listening to this episode. Hey, this is what I can do to be more living my life towards my purpose.
Right. Well, one thing is to do the little visualization that I did with you, the mountaintop one, which is pretty simple, although we have it explained in our book, which people might want to reference if that seemed familiar, and do that as a meditation and then as a reference. So that would be very good, because that's one way to live by the guidance of your soul, and really at a deep place, like as you look at your situation, the choices you have and the way you view it, which is everything is your reframe, your viewpoint. You can look at it very scattered and stressed, as we sometimes do, or from a more soulful, balanced, deeper place, which is available through that. So that's one suggestion. And another one is about, you can't know the outcome, as I was suggesting, but you can have some goals and references. And that comes down to taking your next step. So your next step, after you listen to this podcast, you finish the podcast, is it could be to deal with a challenge, like you were saying. Maybe if you're overwhelmed or something else, worried, you can only just take that next step, and that will be grounding, because you're going onto the earth. If you want to be literal, the next step puts you on earth rather than being immobilized or in the quicksand, as the referring. Or if you're feeling pretty good, your next step is going to be part of that joyous journey of discovery and creativity, with your purpose going forward and going more.
I love it. So, number 1, do the visualization technique.
Connect with the soul, with the top of the mountain. Number 2, take your next step, whether it is just to balance yourself out of stress, or to in a positive place to explore, to see where it's going to take you out of joy and creativity. And 3 is just open your heart. Just try to keep your heart open and loving, even though things can be stressful and throw you off, and you don't like what you're seeing or experiencing. There's a lot of stress in the world. The more you can keep your heart open, the more you can actually shine that light that's coming from your heart into everything and everyone in your daily life, and to make the world a better place.
I love that. Phillip, thank you so much. This has been a really fun and experiential conversation, as well as evolutionary, right? It helped me understand myself a little better, like the words that I'm associating with how I'm feeling. There's a reason for that. There's an internal reason, caught up. And if I just spent a little bit more time on it, I can find how to solve that. All right, let's jump right into.
And I do have a free gift that I can share
Sweet.
with the audience too.
Absolutely. We can talk. We can talk about. Actually, yeah. Why don't you share the free gift you have for the audience?
Yes, it's a free gift from our website. We have a very extensive website at gettingthrough.org, gettingthru.org, with a lot of videos and articles and trainings. But the free gift is a spiritual and a healing, a holistic kit of an excerpt from our new book, The Loving Power of Your Soul, which I referenced in that visualization we did. An excerpt from that, and a healing, a holistic EFT, a tapping energy video, and some resources, some holistic resources. So to get that, the tiny URL, a shortened URL, is tinyurl.com/spiritual-kit, tinyurl.com/spiritual-kit for the free gift.
Awesome. I'll be sure to include that link into the show notes. But before we finish the episode, we do have some quick questions for you, Phillip. So number one, what is the one hobby that you wish you got into?
The hobby I wish I got into. Well, I may have wanted to go a little more into some of the technical things of filmmaking and videos and so forth. I did use some of that, but some of the more technical aspects I didn't get into.
Nice. So get more into tech, into video and whatnot. Nice.
Right.
What did you want to be when you were a child?
I think I wanted to just be someone who could help the world in a bigger way. And I didn't know exactly what that would mean.
Yeah.
How to kind of put your voice out there to make the world a more loving, wonderful, creative place.
Nice. I love it. And what is your favorite movie or TV show? And if none, how about a book?
Well, one of the movies that just comes to the top of my mind is Field of Dreams. That's a very mystical, sort of magical film that has a lot of wonder in it.
Yeah.
You can, I think, take it a little too literally or too extreme, but and I enjoy the music in it too.
Love it. We'll have to check it out. I think I might have seen it, but I have
with
to
Kevin Costner.
With Kevin Costner, exactly.
So these baseball players coming back from the past, and he builds a baseball field out in the cornfields, and they all come kind of mystically to him from past history.
Love it. All right. So next question is, what movie would you choose if you got to play a character in it?
You mean what movie would I be the character in?
Yeah.
Another one about dreams with Robin Williams was What Dreams May Come, where he lost his wife and he goes into these other dimensions, which is, from what I understand, is kind of where we go after we die in different ways. And it was an extraordinary depiction of the colors and the beauty. And that's often how people who have out-of-body, near-death experiences, they do report the other worlds, and we're just in a very small possibility of the billions of worlds and possibilities available. Are much more vivid and transcendent. The music and the sound and the light is more transcendent, and that movie depicts that. That's
really awesome. In fact, the latest movie with Doctor Strange, the multiverse universe of madness, in it, they talk about how when you are sleeping and you're dreaming, you're actually living a life of another person in the multiverse who's awake and doing some different things. So that's why, like, whoa. So every single person that is you in a different universe is interlinked through quantum. And there's a terminology they mentioned, but It's like, wow, that's pretty insane.
It's a little bit like the Akashic records and the Akashic fields or libraries.
Yeah, love it. Who is your favorite superhero?
Favorite superhero? I don't know. I do like a lot of them. I guess Superman popped to the top of my mind. He's pretty well known. And they had kind of a child version of him, Mighty Mouse, when I grew up. It was
I remember
like
Mighty Mouse.
Cartoon version of Superman, but it kind of made it a little more accessible for young children.
I remember. Yeah, that was really good. All right, last question. If you were a board game, what would it be?
A board game? I don't know board games that well, and I just, one of the only ones I remember growing up was Monopoly, which was kind of an interesting way of learning some things about money.
Yeah, awesome. I'll put that down. All right, so you've shared where my audience can find you over at gettingthrough.org. And
You're getting thru.org.
Gettingthru.org. Well, I'll be sure to include all of the links to the podcast notes so people can quickly find you, as well as the gift that you've shared with us. Thank you so much, Phillip.
Great being with you, Junaid.
Absolutely. Thank you so much again, and we'll catch you in the next one. Congratulations, you made it to the end of the episode. Thanks so much for listening to our guest on this episode. Please send me an email at junaid@hacksandhobbies.com to tell me what you loved about our guest today. You could find links mentioned in this episode on the hacksandhobbies.com website.